All right, hey guys, what's going on? My name is Chris Alquez, and this is your best life defined. I was going to do this. I want to ask you a question. Is it good enough? When you think about your life, when you think about the things you do, the things you have, is that good enough? That becomes the determining factor as to whether action is taken or not. Good enough. I'm good. I'm good. I remember when I first started on this quest, I used to talk about happiness a lot, and happiness and me don't get along real good because I think happiness is poison to success. I think the idea that we do what makes us happy is the reason we're never happy, because happiness can be acquired as easily as going and buying something new, right? So I think when I look at this whole story of living your best life, it comes down to is your life good enough? Now here's the ticket. If you say yes, if you're sitting there and you say, I got a good life, I'm happy. This is not the question. The question is it good enough? Have you accomplished the pinnacle of your success to the point that you can sit back now and just revel in your success? See, while you're thinking about that, let me just give you a little bit of information here. So I used to sit and I used to ponder. I'd think to myself about rich people, guy owns Amazon, or Donald Trump, or any of these people who they just seem to be on this quest for power and for more money and just to continue to accomplish the things that they do, right? And I used to think, wow, they're greedy. Wow, they're greedy. They're greedy. That's not it. That's not it at all. So I think there's a point in life when people have accomplished immense success and they continue to drive forward simply because there's a sense of accomplishment that comes from doing that. There is a feeling of satisfaction and immense happiness. I mean, because it's a source of happiness. There's nothing that feels better to me than to come away from a podcast and go, yeah, I nailed that one. I feel pretty good about that one. The idea is good enough does not exist. Had we followed the path of good enough, because we're not designed to follow a path of good enough. No matter where you are, there's some place you need to be. That's just the way the world works. I call it the hunter-gatherer syndrome. Okay, where you grow up every day and you go out and you hunt and you gather. And the difference is we don't have to kill animals for food anymore. We go to the grocery store and we buy our food, right? But that didn't diminish the amount of energy we have for that hunter-gatherer instinct. That is why I believe no matter what you have, you continue to be in the process of collecting. That's why you have boxes of stuff in your garage and in your attic and in your basement that you'll probably never touch. You'll probably never use again, right? So you can't really, when you take that equation, the reason that we can never find contentment, even though we followed this blueprint for the American dream, is because we're not designed to sit still and stop. We're designed to want more, but instead of grabbing that energy, that innate energy that lives within us, and using it for true accomplishments based on who we are, we take these easy fixes. The truck will just get paid off, and all of a sudden we need a new truck. Oh, we just got this paid off. The credit card's paid off. Hey, let's buy this. That's our quest for satisfying that need to continue to hunt and gather, right? But there's another side of this, and that is where we accept the big struggle. Because the big struggle, it's like happiness is a drive-up window. You can jump in your car, you can go any place, and you can find happiness. But yet when we look at the big things that matter, like the true quality of our life, the amount of time we spend doing things we enjoy versus doing things we don't, that's where the measure of living your best life comes in. Is how it feels to engage in the life you created for yourself. What's funny is when we look at this big picture called the house and the cars and the debt and the 30-year mortgage and the job and all that stuff, it's really easy for us to say, oh, that's good enough. Good enough, I'm good, I'm happy. I don't need to change a thing. What do you mean? Guys getting pissed off at me because I make the allegation that maybe they're not as happy as they think they are, even though they walk around all pissed off for 30 years in a federal prison. In fact, what was ironic was when I first started on this quest, I would talk to guys in the prison, people I worked with, about happiness, and they would insist they were happier than they've ever been, and yet they'd be the most miserable, angry people that you know. And I'm speaking from experience because that used to be me, right? But yet in our personal life, we fail to take that action, and the reason we fail to take that action is because it's hard to face a struggle when you haven't defined a goal that's worth struggling for, right? And it's hard to find energy when there's no reason to move. If you don't have any reason to move, if there isn't some impending danger and you don't have to get out of your puddle, where they're sitting in your mud and you're just doing your thing, where do you find the incentive to take the next step? That's the tough part about living your best life, and that's why there's so much resistance to this. I mean, take a look at your life. You wake up every day and you run through this series of events. And granted, they're not all the amazing adventure that I keep describing, but you're okay with that, right? What's interesting is you are right on the edge with regard to your time and your resources. You expend as much energy as you want to expend, and you only have so much money and so much time. So when some guy like me comes along and says, hey, are you living good enough? Is it good enough for you? And I suggest that you add something to your life, you affect some change in your life. What is the first thing you think of? Oh, screw that. I don't want to do anything else. Freaking tired now. That's where that endurance comes in. Because the only way you can escape where you are right now and improve some aspect of your life is to take action to do so. And that action takes effort, it takes time, it takes planning, it takes evaluation, and it takes perseverance, right? You have to step up every day and take that action. And the problem a lot of people say is, okay, you want me to live my best life? I'm barely making ends meet now. I don't have any time at all. What if I told you that I was going to pay for an all-expense-paid vacation to Hawaii for a week? Any week you want. Would you find the time to do that? Hell yeah, you would. But the reason you didn't do it is because, number one, you didn't have the money to do it, and you didn't believe you could have the money to do it, so it didn't become a reality. But as soon as I offer the trip to you and all you have to do is find the time, guess what? There's perfect time to do it, right? You'll find a time to do it. If I told you, hey, Hawaii in a week, for a week in Hawaii, all expense paid, you'd find the time to do it, right? That's where the change comes in. So instead of me offering you an all-expense-paid trip to Hawaii, why don't you just say, hey, listen, I'm going to do an all-expense-paid trip to Hawaii. Oh, wow, how are you going to do that? Well, I'm going to make the time to do it. And since I'm not going to give you the money to do it, what do you have to do? Well, you have to find the money to do it. Can you imagine? So just take for a minute that let's say that you work Monday through Friday. You have Saturdays and Sundays off. And you want to go to Hawaii, an all-expense-paid trip to Hawaii for a week. How could you do that? Well, you could give up a Saturday for a few months. You figure if you made $100 a day on a Saturday, every 10 Saturdays you would have $1,000. So technically, if you did a year of Saturdays, 52 weekends, well, that'd be over $10,000. Wow, that's easy enough, right? Finding the incentive to break away from the pattern that you're in right now, finding the incentive to step away from where you are right now, and finding the energy to take action comes down to defining something that's worth going after. And it works both ways. Now, just so you know, you can talk shit about your life. It's okay. I talk shit about my life all the time. I talk crap about this podcast. I talk about how I suck at this podcast. I talk about how I suck at my workouts, how I'm getting older and I'm not skinny enough. And you know why I do that? Because it builds in me a sense of resentment, and it gives me an energy towards resisting that thing that I don't like. That thing that I don't like. You know what? If I'm not happy with this podcast, guess what I do? I get angry about it because I'm like, why Tim Ferriss is doing fine. Brene Brown, she jumps on there. She's a major success. Joe Rogan is the world's best podcaster, right? And here I am over here grinding it out. Pisses me off, makes me want to be better at it, right? That's the other side of that. The point is, if you want to escape good enough, if you want to escape waking up in 10 years to a life that looks just like it does now, with a few exceptions, you're probably heavier, you haven't done any more, maybe you're in more debt, you're tired, the job isn't going any better. In fact, maybe the job's gotten worse, depending on how COVID has impacted you, right? How do you escape that burden of waking up in 10 years to a life that's good enough? You dream. Dream about it. What's your dream? What's your dream life look like? What's your dream relationship look like? What does your dream anything look like? I can do better. I can do better. And of course, you believe in yourself, right? That's where it starts, right? The only reason I'm here right now is because I don't care what anybody else thinks. I think I'm great. I think that this works. I think that I'm doing the best I can until I do better. And I think for those of you who truly understand what my goal is, you'll stick around and you'll watch the growth and you'll appreciate the effort, right? And for those of you who aren't ready for this, who aren't ready to affect change in your life, this is not going to be of any interest to you. This is going to be a boring podcast by an old man who doesn't know what he's talking about, right? That's because your life is good enough. And I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is waking up every day and allowing the day to go by without accomplishing something, learning something, taking action in some direction that I believe is going to make my life better in the future. And that's really the goal. What's ironic about it is we live in an age of information. You can technically learn how to do anything on the internet. In fact, my daughter just started her YouTube channel. I got to pick up the name of it. I'm sorry, I'll give her a plug here. But she just started a YouTube channel, and she's cooking, and it's cool as hell. I was really impressed. I'm like, oh, that sucks. She's amazing, and here I am. I suck. But that's the dynamic of us, I guess in my case, overachievers, of people who are not willing to accept that this is as far as we can go. Let's stop now. I don't plan on stopping, and I hope you don't either, because the reality is there are some amazing opportunities in life. There are amazing things that you haven't done yet. In fact, I bet there are things you don't even know you would love to do because you haven't done any research on them. The biggest hurdle we face is knowing what we don't know, right? Biggest hurdle we face is stepping outside our box long enough to figure out if that's a place we want to stand, right? I don't want to change. Change sucks. Change sucks. No, it doesn't always suck. Change sucks. Self-driven change for the right ideas is a perfect way to jumpstart your life. To jumpstart your life to the point that you wake up in 5 years and you truly are living your best life, or at least from the standpoint of looking back and looking at where you were compared to where you are now, right? I don't know. I will never accept my life. I can tell you this right now. This podcast will never be good enough. I will never be good enough at anything I do. When I hit that publish button on that book that I'm working on, I'm going to have all kinds of angst, all kinds of anxiety, because I know there are going to be typos in it. I know that it's not as good as it could be. I know that it's not as written as well as some amazing authors that are out there. But guess what? In the end, it's better than where I was before I published it. And that's the cool part about it. That's why I say no matter where you are, there's an opportunity to change. There's an opportunity for you to wake up and be energized about something in your life. The ticket is to find the motivation to go after that thing, to discover that thing, and then to take action towards achieving those goals. Evaluating the success of your actions and continuing the process until you finally hone your skills and you get there. Because I don't care where you are in your life. It will never be as good as it can be if you take that action. So keep that in mind. I really appreciate you guys showing up. As you can see, I'm working hard. Some of these, I will apologize now. Sometimes energy level's up, sometimes it's down. Sometimes I am in my zone completely, and it works for me. And other times I feel like I kind of let you down. Hang with me on that. I'm just like you. I'm just trying to make it better, and the only way I can do that is showing up every day. I hope you will too. And as always, just remember, today's your day. Make it a good one.